Hello, everyone. David Ginola here. It's Father's Day today, and we are going to talk about something very important. A very important cause is missing people. Every 90 seconds in this country, someone is going missing, and 100,000 people are missing and going missing each year in the UK. And I have with me today Gian Power is an ambassador for missing people, and he is going to talk about his experience. Well, his experience about missing people and his story.
Thanks, David. And yeah, thanks for joining us here today on behalf of the Missing People charity that's so close to my heart. And yeah, I suppose just to bring my own story to life and why this is such an important issue is, as you mentioned, my name's Gian Power, and my background is actually I was born in the Midlands in the UK. I'm half Indian by background. My dad's side, mum's white British. And to be honest, life for me was great growing up, and went off to university like many people in 2014, got my first job in the city down in London. And in 2015, my whole life just pretty much collapsed in May 2015. And this is why missing is so close to my heart, because on the 7th of May in 2015, normal day for me, my dad gave me a phone call and he said, "Hey, son, I've got to go overseas for work." And I thought, all right, he said he had to fly that evening. It was a little bit last minute and thought nothing too much of it because he used to fly quite a lot. And dad and I spoke from the airport that evening and he took that flight. Now, a few days passed and I'd never heard from him. And again, I think when a loved one's overseas, don't think too much of it, time difference. I thought he'll drop me a text in a few days. But 3 days, 4 days started passing by, and it was pretty apparent my sister hadn't heard from him. Nobody had heard from my dad. At that point, we just hoped, prayed, whatever it is that you do, that dad would take the flight back to the UK. It was planned. And the day came and the airline called me and they said he's not on the flight and it's departed. Now, that day, I declared my dad missing internationally. And at the time, I was 23 years old. I was working the city, just started my career out. I had no idea what I was doing. And at the time, I just campaigned tirelessly across the media to try and find my dad. Me and my sister were doing all that we could. And during that point, when somebody goes missing, and David, as you said, every 90 seconds, somebody is going missing. And for so many families, during those 4 weeks for us, it's one, there's emotions that are all over. You're worried about where that person is, my dad, but also you're trying to action. And actually you have to be, quite savvy to try and bring dad home. And we were putting up rewards of money we didn't have, of doing things that we had no clue what we were doing.
Where did he go abroad?
He flew to India. And so again, being half Indian, I thought, it's quite a normal flight. After 4 weeks of campaigning, there was a glimmer of hope because BBC Worldwide gave us a call and they said, "Look, we've seen what's going on with your dad." And obviously BBC reaching how many countries around the world, they said, "Come into the studio tomorrow. We'll get you on live in every country." And so that night, my sister and I went to bed ready to wake up to go live on the BBC the next day. And it was the 31st of May. We received a phone call that we'd been pretty much dreading. And that was a phone call who said, "Are you the children of Ranjit Singh Power?" And we said, "Yes, have you found him?" And they said, "We found his body and he's been murdered." And that day, life pretty much took a huge turn for me. Firstly, losing my dad, which was huge, but also kind of my best mate and my role model who's always been there in my life. And things went on and it was a pretty difficult time. And again, when we look at missing people, especially from different communities, being half Indian, it's very different in different communities. And I was coming from a community where you could not speak about this stuff. You bring shame on families if we speak about missing, and that's got to stop. Now, from that day on, things continued to be hard for us because we thought we'd found my dad's body. And a few months later, it was flown back to the UK and I got told that it wasn't my dad's body. And so things all just started happening again. And so what was a murder investigation was just all over. Now, the reason I share that is because to this day, I don't have my dad's body. I never got to say goodbye. And for many people who go missing, there's also something called long-term missing, which is where loved ones have gone. Sometimes they just leave the house and they never return.
Do
And
you still have hope because the return body wasn't your dad?
well, this is the thing. No. And the reason is somebody confessed to murdering my dad. And that's another whole legal issue that's going on around the world. And as you said, although somebody confessed to it, because you don't have that closure, there's still something in your mind that's like, is he still out there? And you meet people and they're like, oh, but is he still alive? I know that he's not. I know that he's not. But that's something that people with long-term missing, it's an issue. And the charity do amazing work, not only to support people who might go missing. You know, the number is 116 000, free and confidential for anybody to call. But it's also about the families like me who are left thinking, what's this unknown? And I've met people, honestly, David, who've had people go missing in the 1980s, the 1990s, age 16, just leave the house, gone. Now, there's many reasons for it, but 8 out of 10 people who do go missing have some form of diagnosed or undiagnosed mental health condition. Not all, but it happens. And so, it's an experience in my life, and it's changed my life pretty much forever.
What do you expect for the next few months and years in terms of what the charity could get you, or what do you expect from life towards the case of your dad being murdered?
So the charity do great work in supporting families if a loved one goes missing, or if you're an individual listening to this today, thinking of going missing, or you are struggling, to know that you can call 116 000 and get that support. In terms of me and the charity, I'm here to support them. It's sadly, with many charities, they can guide us in the right way, but then you come down to legal issues, political issues. And to be honest, that's probably another conversation, another day, because there are challenges that need to be addressed there. But looking at kind of where things are today, I think the key thing that I want to address is that, the most likely people to go missing are men who are 18 to 39. And as men, there's such an issue where we don't speak up about emotions. I let them out all the time now. But how do we get it so people can speak up, David, and show how we're feeling?
But for that, you need to have people to understand if someone wants to go missing, it's not something he's going to express to his surrounding or his close ones, his loved ones. It's like someone who is going to attempt a suicide. He's not going to talk about it. You're going to discover a letter maybe somewhere hidden in a cupboard, and there's a proof of what he was going to do. So talking about your dad, so for you it was just a trip going to India, and it was like going for work. It was so you didn't ask yourself why he was going there, or you did?
No, I think with my dad, because again, he was always flying around the world, the UK, Dubai, India.
Okay, so world traveler.
Exactly. So I was quite used to that. But this is the thing. I mean, in my particular instance, my dad wasn't necessarily intentionally going to go missing. It was an unfortunate ending, and an ending that took me a while to figure out what had happened. And hence,
how long did it take?
4 weeks. 4 weeks before I got the news. And for that, I had divers in rivers. I had all sorts kind of going on, and I
there
did
in India.
Yeah. Yeah.
So roughly where the place where it was.
Yeah, I do. I do. And I've never gone back. I've never been. One day maybe, but not just yet. And
so what could have been different?
What could have been different really is, well, firstly, I wish, I live with no regret, but, could I have said, Dad, why are you going? Or do you need to rush to this trip? It's probably quite a complex one in my particular case, really, David, I probably couldn't have changed anything. Again, world traveler, Dad was always going to fly. Was this inevitable? Was somebody always after trying to hurt my father? So whether it was 2015, 2016, who knows? The only people who know that are the people who did this. And for that, it's a complex case, and I'm not going to get to the bottom of it overnight, sadly. But one thing when I bring it back to other people, I suppose, as well, is, as you say, with men not expressing their emotions, people aren't necessarily going to say, I'm going to go missing, of course. But I hope that what we can do is say to men and anyone listening to this of like, actually do speak up. If you are having thoughts of actually, I want to run away from home, or I'm living a life where it's just becoming too much for me, people care. There's always somebody who cares for you, and just to have a conversation with them. Now, as men, I know it's difficult because we're told to be macho and not to show your emotions. And so what I would say, if you're listening to this, check in on your mates, ask them how they're doing, ask it 2 times, ask it 3 times, look them in the eye and ask them how they're really feeling. If you see them being quite angry, often
I think we are missing that in terms of relationship with others.
Yeah.
We're not taking care enough of our close ones.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, conversation, talk, but nothing deep, nothing, okay, looking deep in the eyes of someone and say, well, you're not right. I mean, if you need to talk to someone, I'm be the one to talk to. If you need to confess or to do something, but it makes me feel very strange about that, because apparently your dad didn't want to go missing. He just wanted to travel the world. He went missing there, but was not his purpose going missing. You know what I mean? As some people, they reminds me of a film in France called Itinéraire d'un enfant gâté. This is a man who have a big success in life and he has got a beautiful family, and he wanted people to understand that he was dead. So they find the boat, but he wasn't on the boat. So they declare him dead. But in fact, he simulates the whole thing to go somewhere and to live his own life as a man without women, kids, firm, companies, employees, just living his own life, because he was so fed up when he was reaching 60 years old, and he said to himself, well, okay, what's the point? I've got money, I've got my kids are good health, my wife is settled, everything is now what about me? What about me? Do people think about me? What I think about my own state? I look after every single one. I make sure that every single one next to me are okay.
Yeah.
But do they ask themselves the question about me? Because the responsibility of a dad or a chef d'entreprise, an entrepreneur, or is about always looking after others. Yeah. But we're not looking back to the person in charge, because they're supposed to be powerful, they're supposed to be strong, they're supposed to be coping with every single difficulties and issues in life. And in fact, it's not the case. It's not true. People are fragile. People are every single one has issues with daily basic life, and sometimes you just want to say, okay, forget about it. I love you. I love you very much, but now I need to think a little bit about me. And I think us as kids, we are sometimes very selfish, because we are thinking about us, we are thinking about our own life. And do you do everything for me? Do you help me? But in the other way, what do you do? What do you do? Do you give me enough affection? Do you give me enough love? It's very complicated, and I can really understand. And it's fantastic to have this charity, Missing People, because I think, like I talk about suicide, this is not something you talk about. If you want to go missing, this is not something you're not gonna go on the balcony and shout to everyone, I'm going missing. No, you want to go missing. It's something that you have deep inside you, and it's the preparation of going there. And that's why it's a hard work if you need to get the people back somehow and to find them.
That's it. And I think to anybody who is thinking of going missing, as you say, you don't shout it from the rooftops. We don't share it with everyone, but know that the Missing People charity is there privately, free, confidentially. And this is why it is a lifeline when somebody goes missing. And so you might not, nobody will want to share it with anybody, but know that the charity is there and there's somebody at the end of the phone who you can talk to. He doesn't need to know you, doesn't need
So
to know.
this is exactly what you did. You called the charity, you told them the story, and they came back to you with what?
Yeah, so calling the charity for me was, I guess, a bit different because I wasn't the individual, but I was the family, and saying, look, can you give me guidance and support? I was 22, 23 years old, David. I
That's
don't
pretty young.
know what the hell. Yeah, you know what? More's happened in my last 6 years, I think, in life than I thought was going to happen probably in 60 years. But I'm good and I've learned a lot, the hard way. But just back then, I called the charity and they would say, look, there are procedures you need to follow. You have to go to the police station to declare somebody missing.
Start with.
Exactly. Because every single minute counts. You could be talking an hour, 2 hours when how do we bring them home? Children go missing a lot as well, but just going back to what you were saying about men and, there's such a responsibility to be kind of here in the family and leading everybody and being strong for everyone else. And all I would urge and ask is any guys listening, well, maybe we can support each other. We can't, maybe the families aren't always going to ask us the question, but how do we just check in with each other a little bit more, knowing that everybody's going through these pain points? It's a big issue. And I think even now throughout lockdown and everything that's gone on, Missing People did a survey and a study and found that 2/3 of vulnerable people reported that lockdowns are worse than their mental health. And there's now, I think, a sharp rise in 60% of people now considered high risk to go missing because of lockdown. Because as you said, things have come to the surface and people are like, I've had enough. And then
that's too much to cope with.
Yeah.
I know. And you mentioned the lockdown, and especially the last 2 years we've been living in. It's just, I think, is exaggerate the whole process of going missing. And because I'm pretty sure, because I was in a situation, you were in a situation, we were all of us in a situation, and thinking about, wow, it's complicated. Mentally, it's complicated. And I can think about people who have even more issues, mental issues, living in those situations when we take away your freedom. Your freedom is taken away from you. It's a very, very complicated thing. But I'm pretty sure that if someone is going missing, I'm just thinking about it because I put myself in the situation of someone. If tomorrow I want to go missing,
yeah,
why would I? Why would I? What would be the reason for me to leave my entourage, living my life and going? What would do that?
Yeah, I mean, there is lots of reasons, and as I said, like 8 out of 10 of people have a diagnosed or undiagnosed mental health condition, and we've all got mental health. And so I feel that there's a bit of like the irrational maybe playing in that tells them to do things that they wouldn't otherwise do. There's also the fact, as you say, that things just become too much. And I hear this time and time again from people who I know have gone missing and they come back. It's because it's all become too much and they've got nobody to speak to, and they just want that escape. God forbid, as you said, there are people with suicidal thoughts who go missing because, they go missing and then this kind of happens, and we need to be there. And as I said, the charity is that lifeline just before that to say, stop, please call. And even the website, I think, is brilliant. I was just saying there's a button on there that hides it. There's a little button that hides it. So if you need some support and somebody's around you, you press it, it's gone. So there's many, many reasons. But to be honest, David, I've met so many, and even those who've been long-term missing. I met a lady whose son went missing in New Zealand around 25, 30 years ago. And it's all these unknown questions that I know you're asking me and thinking, well, how does this happen? And she says, one day he came home, well, went to school, didn't come home. Everything was fine. But back to the issue of, as a guy, wasn't speaking up, wasn't speaking out. And when we layer on different cultures and communities, whew, like that Indian side of my family, you are not speaking up about how you're feeling. You shut up, you put up, and you carry on. And we've got to change that amongst
That's
men.
probably the main issue, and you're absolutely right saying that, because in some families, talking about your own problems and issues is not relevant. It's not something you speak out at dinner table, when you put everything on the table and you speak loud about, so what is your problem? And everyone is putting the problems on the table and everyone is trying to sort it out. It's really complicated, because it comes to a point where it depends the individuals. Yeah. It's about individuals. It's about you said the background as well. You said the Indians. You have other issues about religion, about things like that, and it's not an easy thing to go through. It depends where you come from, and you're absolutely right. It's when you've been hurt by something really deeply that you want to express yourself, saying, well, I want to put the light on missing people that could be something that could really be and could fix any issues. Honestly, I was. How are you? How are you, Gian, now?
How old? I'm 29.
No, how are you now?
Oh, how am I? You know what, David? I'm good. I'm always happy in that I actively choose happiness. Today, there's up and down days. I let it out.
Like anyone.
Like everyone. But I speak up. I've got my mates. I've got my support network. I will say, look, I just want to chat about this, or like many people, there's days like Dad's birthday, the anniversary of his death, like those days are pretty tricky. And so I fill them with good stuff. But, I'm good.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have a sister. She's 3 years older than me, Emma.
How is she?
She's good. She's really good.
Compared to you in terms of your dad missing.
It was a turbulent time for her. I've got to say, back then we were like a unit, and we still are. Nothing will break us. And I'm grateful we had each other, because literally, I mentioned before, in those first 4 weeks, you've got emotions going and you've got to be planned. We were in the Foreign Office. I had the ministers out there. I had a whiteboard up and I had a map of India. I was tracking the flights and the trains and things like that. And between the two of us, we could just be there for each other. And we were a great support. She's good today. It's hard. She got married. I walked her down the aisle. But life goes on.
It will, Ian. It will. It will. I almost passed away in 2016. I didn't go missing, but somehow, yes. Yeah. It wasn't my purpose to leave this world and to leave my kids and the loved ones. But I've been very lucky. But I completely understand what you're thinking. I'm totally understand, because I talked to my kids and the scared. They were so scared about having, their dad missing in their life. Because when you have people next to you, even if you don't call for a day or two or a week, it doesn't matter, because they are there.
Yeah.
And you can take a phone and call them anytime. But when they are not there anymore, that the phone call today, tomorrow, or next week will never happen again. And that's the pain that is caused to the people that is actually staying. People, it's like I said, well, I could have lived this world and pass away. And but for me, I was dead. But for the people who stayed in this world, like my kids, like my girlfriend, like, it's very difficult because all their life is completely changed and turned around like a washing machine, and you don't know where you are anymore. You don't know where to what to believe, and I.
That's it. No, I'm with you. And I've realized that these things happen in life and I can't bloody change them. I can't change the past, but all we can do in like having these conversations today is trying to help other people.
And you will change the future.
Yeah.
And you will change the future.
Yeah. And it's so poignant actually, because mine and Dad's middle name is Lion, and I know you've got a lion above your head. Very strange. I don't see them often. But
and you mentioned that, but I watch because it's your background too. I watched the movie Lion about these Indian kids.
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah, gosh, I watched that with my mum a couple of years ago, and it was that particular movie that triggered me thinking maybe I need to go back to India.
I think, but the difference between you and that kid is where you're coming from. You know exactly on the map. You can put a stick and say, well, this is my background. This is where I'm coming from.
Yes.
And this is very important. You know your roots. You know where you're coming from. And actually, I can only say that your dad will always be with you. I lost my mom in 2005. I was a young man. I couldn't believe that the main person in my entire life was going missing. And I'm telling you that I say a phrase in French that is, I say, time is not a healer. It could be a healer.
Yeah.
Soulager, it reduces the pain.
Yeah.
Time, because 2005, now we are 2021. It has been a long 16 years. Over 16 years, I still thinking about it every day. But the pain is not the same. Gian, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. No.
The time flying helps you not to forget.
No.
But to still be able to live your life, because you're a young man and you still have plenty things to do in your life, and these sort of things can just make you feel stronger and not weaker. You need to feel strong about that. Your dad should give you this strength to go over the things in life and say, well, I had issues in my life. This is one of the issues I encounter, and I take this as a force for me, as a strength for the future, for my kids, for my sister, for my nephew, for everyone, and take it as a positive. Because if I can say something like that, you need to take the positive things of something very, very negative. This is terrible, but this is the only thing we have to do. Otherwise, we sit on the sofa and we cry every day. Yeah. But that's not the point, because people around us, they don't want to see us like that. They want to see us taking, we're strong. Okay, let's be strong together. Okay, being strong together, and for him.
Yeah, no, thank you.
For your dad.
I'm with you. It's as you just said, I think that there's a learning in every single thing, no matter how bad it is or how hard it is. In 2014, if you knew me then, I thought I knew what it meant to be happy. Now I know what happiness truly is. It's happiness within. It doesn't matter what you have or where you can go. You've got to be happy here. And as you say, I take that energy as a force for good, to do good for others. And I left my whole job behind. I quit my job in the city. I'm good today, And as you say, with the charity, it was actually my dad's what would have been 60th birthday last September, and that's when I reached out to the charity. I thought, right, I kept seeing actually the poster for the charity all over these airports with my mum, and I thought, Mum, this is literally following me. I said, it's a sign, I've got to do it. So on his birthday, I messaged the CEO, I messaged everybody part of the charity. They must have thought, who the hell is this guy? And I said, I will give you my whatever support I can give you. I am here anytime, because there is nothing more important for me than giving back and helping others. And yeah, the charity itself relies on donations and volunteers and support. So yeah, I'm good. Life is good. I have a very positive outlook on every single day, and I'm grateful to be alive. But at the same time, as you know more than anyone, David, my last day could be today, tomorrow. I hope I live till a bloody 100, but I'm going to enjoy every single day.
And keep the smile on your face like you do.
Yeah, always.
You,
Might be the odd tear, but it won't stop
but
the
it's
smile.
you know what? Crying is not something bad.
Nah.
You crying is memories. We cry because we have memories,
Yeah,
and we are human being. We cry. We cry because we think about the loved ones, the one we love, and the one we lost, and we cry. And 1 hour later, we will take someone around the shoulder and say, "Okay," and a big smile and say, "Okay, let's go. Life move on."
yeah, agreed. I'm with you.